Good evening, everyone, and welcome to tonight's Doc Talk. I am so excited to bring to you Dr. Nancy Bryan, and I know that that's a familiar name and a familiar face to all of you. And so we are so excited to have her pour into us tonight on a very, very important week, Thanksgiving week, to where we can just be so grateful and thankful for all that we have in our lives. And for me, I am so grateful and thankful for the gift of activation and knowing about it and opening my mind to the opportunity of hearing about it. What we're going to be bringing you tonight is just some really great information on activation, but most importantly, in our newest activator, our mind-body GLP-1 activator, and how it coincides with the other activators that we have. What you need to know is everybody's experience on the GLP-1 mind-body system will be different. We are all unique in our own ways. And Nancy is going to address why some of us are experiencing some things and others aren't experiencing those things.
Uh-oh.
Maybe something different. So I'm going to bring on Nancy Bryan. She is going to tell you a little bit about herself. She's all over the place between Arizona and Kentucky. Thank goodness for airplanes. She just got off a plane today and she is coming to us. So please give her the gratitude that she deserves in the chat of allowing us to hear her voice tonight in such a, family time and everything. But Nancy, I've been introduced to so many of you people who are on the Science Advisory Board. And what would somebody like you, who has the credentials that you have, and I'd love for you to share those credentials and how they tie into activation and to our products, why would someone like you put your stamp on LifeVantage? Can you share that with us?
Oh, absolutely. So, first and foremost, my background, I always had the intention from the time I was little to be a doctor. I always wanted to be one. And I can tell you that it was not popular for them to have women go into medicine during the time frame when I was in school. I was not encouraged by my chemistry teachers. I was not encouraged by a lot of people when I was in high school, but I was determined because the more they said no, the more I said yes, right? So my whole background was based on wanting to make a difference for people. That was my whole background. So when I got into school, one of the things that happened to me, and this is important for later on, I had to have several shots going into medical school. And when that happened, I had a bunch of blood clots happen, and I was very ill. I was very, very sick. I didn't know at the time I had a very rare, weird gene. And so what that led to was them saying to me, you're not going to make it through medical school. But guess what? If you go over here to pharmacy school, you can finish up really quickly because you have everything already that you need, just a few more classes. And I thought, okay, well, that'll be great. So I finished up, went to pharmacy school, took my boards, and while I was there, right up front, I knew from my background, I had a master's already in molecular biochemistry. I already knew when they were telling me about the medications that there were times and places for them, but they were band-aids. They were not what really truly was going to restore our cellular health. And this is a long time ago. And so I took that information, and rather than go working in a pharmacy like everybody else that I went to school with, I went straight and ended up being one of the first female sales reps for a pharmaceutical company. Why that's important is it taught me so much about a lot of different challenges in terms of what our medical system goes through, what part the government has to do, and what real healthcare was. And so I'm so forever grateful for that. I knew that wasn't going to be where I stayed, but the company I worked for, and this is important, was the #1 diabetes company. That was in my heart and that was in my background. And I had a lot of people in my family that had a lot of diabetes and health problems. So it was really important for me that I really, truly wanted to make a difference. And that's how I started. Well, I eventually married my husband. He stayed with that company, and I went on to start my own businesses through the way. All that was great, except I was always running here and there and never taking care of my body. What ended up happening is I got very stressed. This is so important, people. Please know and understand there's nothing more damaging to your body. I don't care if it's plastics, chemicals, all the things on the planet, none of them come close to what stress does for you. Okay. And as a result of it, I ended up with a very severe form of cancer and was told I was not going to have much time to live. So, like you, Sandy, I went through chemotherapy, went through a lot of horribleness. And I was in a wheelchair when I had them come to me. And the next thing that happened during that time frame, I got diagnosed with melanoma. And they told me basically it's over. And I'm telling you, I was just a hot mess. I had, my husband that I cared for. My kids were in places where they still really needed me. And I just didn't know what else to do. And this is important too, people. A surfer told me about Protandim and RF2. Okay. He showed me a study and said, I don't know. I have a melanoma. You have a melanoma. Is this study from Louisiana State University on melanomas? Could this be real? And I will tell you, when I took that study, I'm like, give me that study, because I was ready to just tear it to pieces. And guess what? It was real. And as a result of it, you know what? That changed everything. My blood work changed so much that my oncologist told me before I came into my appointment, I had to get my blood work done again because the lab messed up. Okay. So if you want to know what drove me to this company, it was the fact that something had such a significant impact in my body at a time when I needed it. And we can't say we treat, mitigate, prevent, or cure anything. All I can tell you is that I went from being in a wheelchair to running around again, and for my blood work to get to where it needed to be. And from that point on, we've developed products that have continued to build my health. And so here I am, fast forward 10 years later, in, in optimum health. And so that really, truly was why I looked at the company. That's why I took the products. Why did I decide to get involved in the business? The part of that that's really important, what separated out pharmaceuticals from nutrients being able to take over categories, was the quality controls. When this company, I called them and I asked them, how do they make their products so consistent with plants from all over the planet being blended together? How do they make it so consistent that the FDA allowed them to be able to say that we reduced oxidative stress by 40% in 30 days, because that was huge. And when they told me about their quality controls and how they did what they do, and they ascertain raw ingredients and look for the activity levels and all that goes into how they make this product, that was unheard of in the field of nutrients. That's when I knew that I had to start really looking at this. And that's when I knew I had a moral obligation to be capable to get back on my feet and share this with other people.
Well, Nancy, I just get goosebumps hearing this, and I don't. There's probably several people on this call who knew nothing about that from you. So I'm glad that you shared your journey, because looking at you right now, you're the picture of health. No one would know that you were told it's over, and if we're okay, our kids are okay, right? So
exactly.
9 years ago looked very different for me as well. And I wasn't even introduced to these products till 5.5 years ago. And I'm feeling amazed at how good I feel. Maybe I didn't know how bad I felt until how I felt this good. I just figured there was a new normal that was going to have to take place after chemotherapy. I was happy to be alive, and I was willing to live that way. But you know what? I didn't have to. I'm 60 years old. I'm vibrant. I feel great. And, it's just amazing, again, to be surrounded by people like you. And I love hearing these stories of these products that will support. They are supporting a healthy longevity, a healthy lifestyle. And so, Nancy, with your background in pharmacology and in formulating, I'm curious as to know, because you're on the Science Advisory Board, would they ever ask you to be part of the formulator for these products? And if so, which ones?
Yeah, they asked me to come inside. And I said, you know what? Been there, done that. I'm ready to be out with the people. I want to be out and make a difference worldwide to people. And you know what? I'm so blessed because with Christina Beers that I do have some input. I'm not paid for it, but I do it willingly because through these years the information builds. As you grow, you learn, and the experiences that you see with all the different people and what I've witnessed with so many different people with so many different problems, it really truly comes back to cellular, my molecular biochemistry. It's operating that cell and getting it as clean as we can, as long as we can, makes everything else work in balance. And it really truly is about balance. And so for me, the biggest thing was the fact that I found myself in a place where, you know what? Well, that, and I didn't really want to live in Utah. I live in Arizona, so there was that too. But the bottom line, I felt like I could serve people so much better, being able to explain what we have and how we have it, and try to keep it in the simplest language so that they can share it too. And that truly, I believe, is the gift that I've been given from God, and I'm so grateful for that.
Well, I can speak for all of us. We're certainly grateful as well to have you in the position you are, because you're so willing to share, and you've got so much, you give us so much value. Knowing your background in, I would call it obesity education or diabetic education, that's what you're certified in, right? Especially dealing with blood sugar levels and things like this, because they're so important. And I think a lot of us have issues with that we don't even know about. I want to ask you, what excites you the most about the mind-body GLP-1 system, because you were super duper stoked and when we were
so
using
excited,
this
so
product.
excited.
And I know all of you doctors literally were in tears when you read the studies and things. How is it different? I mean, we've been around for a while. Okay. I know that we look like
Yes.
20, but I think we've been around for a little while. And I know that you and Dr. Brimhall and several people have said you never dreamed in your lifetime that this would be discovered. So can you tell us, what's different about this, and what's different about this compared to anything else that you've ever been around in your life?
Well, first and foremost, as I said before, my whole background and whole focus has always been surrounded by balancing the chemistry in the body, which, what starts with all of our nutrients and having blood sugar be at its optimum balanced level. And so there's just so much going on in our world today, especially in the United States, because so much of our foods are not the quality that we really could use. And as a result of it, and the stress levels, and you know what, we don't even begin to talk about this stuff, but let me tell you, technology, let's face it, we've got something that's signaling up to a satellite how many gazillion miles away and coming back down. It comes through your brick house. You have to know it's going through you too. And we don't even know what all that's doing, right? So for me, seeing the companies focus on balancing the cell chemistry was always what brought me there. But when they started discussing with me about the GLP-1, this is something I was very familiar with. I told you I worked for Eli Lilly and Company. What company do you think it was that came out with the initial injectables for this? That was the work with people I've known for years. And the striving was, this is the company, they were the company that came out with the first insulins. All right. And insulins can be life-saving when you're type 1 diabetic. If you don't have it, you're dead. Okay. So there's important places for it. What we knew, though, was the enzymatic complex and hormones in the digestive tract and in the gut that were so important. And nobody ever had the ability to figure out what we could do to get that working. That was the chemistry that they started figuring out. And so when Christina brought to me that they were working on this, one of the things that I'm so grateful for, Dr. Melody Rodarte, and I don't know if any of you know her, but Dr. Melody Rodarte is an MD, and she is also an obesity specialist. All right. That's what she does. She's in Phoenix with me. Her and I are dear friends. And I can tell you the deep conversations we have that most people would not want to be part of. It's just pretty crazy chemistry. But my point of it is, they told us that they were going to micro team all the science board and put us each on different teams. And they put everybody on all the teams for Pro Tandem and all these other things. And then they looked at Melody and I, and they went like this to us. And they said, "You're coming with us." And we both thought we were like getting fired. So they took us in another room and proceeded to tell us what we were going to be part of. So we got to be part of it from the very beginning. And yes, we were so excited, but oh my goodness, how hard is it to be that excited and not be able to talk about it? Oh my goodness, a whole new conversation of duct tape, let me tell you. But why we're so excited? Because you know what? There is nothing that dictates more things in our body than the GLP-1 hormone. We have GLP-1 receptors everywhere. And so what made me so excited was to know that what we were working on activated our own GLP-1 again, because the synthetics that are out there, yes, they have some value, but the problem is you're taking in those synthetics, the shots that are out there and utilizing them, your body, it's smart, but it can be lazy. And it's like, you're giving me this stuff, great, I don't have to make it anymore. So it stops making your own. Not only that, but another thing is, because it's synthetic, when it goes and touches and hangs, it goes onto the receptors, the GLP-1 hormone is sent to signal and to touch it and to leave to give the signaling to it. What the synthetic does, unfortunately, is it goes and it stays there and it doesn't come off. So over time, more and more of those GLP-1 receptors are full, and the rest of our natural GLP-1 doesn't have a space to go. And that's why over time you'll see side effects. Over time you need more. Over time it may not work. And so what I was so excited was with our GLP-1 activation, it's the complete opposite of that. It's going to go in and turn on our own GLP-1 to have its functions, some of which we may not even know yet. But it has everything to do with brain and communication to our gut and to our muscles and so many things. So that, I know that's kind of a long answer, but that truly is why I continue to be so excited about this, because we're going to see such huge impact in so many people.
Yeah, and I agree with that, Nancy, because we're very fresh into this. It's new to us, and we are, I think I'm at week 14. If I've lost count, it's just what I do now. I love it, and I don't have to overthink anything, but I feel amazing, and I'm feeling amazing in all those places I didn't even know I could feel amazing. And so I know what you're talking about, that GLP-1 hormone affects us in so many different ways. And we've heard many people talk about that, I guess, my question is then, you kind of touched on in some of those artificial things, and they're trying to trick the body into doing something. That's always going to come with a consequence. And for the natural GLP-1, to me, this seems like a tool that we're going to be able to have forever because it is natural. And so I know that we've talked a lot about the body. I heard you mention something about the mind. And one thing that got me so excited in the first week of using it was what happened. I'm not sure, but that GLP-1 was like a little man running around in my brain, just flipping switches on. Can you explain that? Oh, it looks like Nancy is frozen for just a second. So she will be, there she is. There she is.
You're back. Sorry.
Yeah. So did you hear my question is what is going on in our mind? I know, I love the name of it, mind body.
Well, first and foremost, when we talked about those GLP-1 receptors, they're all over the place, okay? They're not just in our gut, they're everywhere. And as a result of that, they have a lot to do with not only feeling when you should feel hungry or when you should feel full, but also everything from your mood. Some of the things most people don't know, a lot of people don't know this, a lot of the hormones and enzymes that work our brain are developed in our gut, and they have to be able to travel up there. And the GLP-1 hormone has a lot to do with releasing some of those as well. Things, like people have heard of serotonin. something that's really important. A serotonin balance in your brain is really important, but it has to get there and it has to be signaled. It's made in the gut. All right. So the pathways that make all that work have a lot to do with GLP receptors and them being turned on. The other thing that it does too is it helps bring the foods into our cells. It brings those nutrients into the cells so that the cells can utilize it as well. And so that has everything to do with not just our body, but our brain. Our brain needs to have those food sources in there. And that's one of the ways that we're dictating how it can get from you eating the proteins in your gut to being able to have that signaling up into your brain. And that's, to me, one of the biggest things that we're going to see more and more of. And I think that it's one of the things that I think a lot of people up front were not expecting. But then again, what I try to remember, get them to remember, what did our beautiful scientists that put this together call it? Our marketing people knew mind, body. It's that process of the connection. And that to me is the most extraordinary part about all of this.
And it's fascinating to me because I don't have the knowledge that you do. And so I'm excited about it. I can't even imagine, what it means to all of you, because this is something, again, that you didn't think that you would see in your lifetime. It's so compelling. And we just get to be recipients of that. We have no idea that when we get that beautiful package of the powder and we get those pills, we have no idea the impact that can make. Even knowing it, what you've said right now, I still don't understand how compelling this is. I'm just going to keep taking it. I don't ever see myself not taking it just because somebody asked me, how long do I have to take this? I said, well, how long do you want to feel amazing? I don't know. For me, it's definitely just food. And, that's one thing that I've learned from you, Nancy, with all of our products. One of the first things that you always say when somebody says, is this going to harm me? Because we're so used to that medicine having a side effect.
Mm-hmm.
You always say, do you eat food? You always
Well,
say,
we do. Yes, I always say, do you eat food? Because what we do are food sources, tiny amounts of really important things blended together with the knowledge that we know of what's utilized. And let's face it, when we're eating food, it's not one chemical, it's a bunch of different things. That's how our body does what it does.
Well, and it's exciting for me because I am not licensed in anything. I'm from the School of Hard Knocks. I was a school teacher and a coach. And so, I always refer people back to someone who has more information on that type of thing, somebody with a degree in that, if they feel more comfortable. But it does make me feel good to know that this is food-based and that most of the side effects are only good side effects. So, Nancy, we do know this now. We had Club 55, and there were many of us who were in that Club 55. And again, I've been on this about 14 weeks, so I've just been feeling great sharing my experience. But now we have Club 55, maybe 1,000. I don't know how many people are on this, but I know there's a lot because we are in a sellout situation. We sold out what we thought would last 90 days. We sold out in less than 2 weeks. So we're having a lot of people having different experiences. Now, in the microwave world that we live in, and in the fast food world that we live in, and everybody wants instant, and they want easy. They want the easy button. They want the magic beans. It's just maybe human nature. How come I haven't lost 40 pounds in 2 weeks? I just don't understand it. We get all kinds of things. I get, I have a group that I coach, and we have so many people in there, and every Monday we post pictures. And I had to just say it this week. People start off with, well, I'm a little disappointed. And I'm like, they said the scale didn't move. But I'm telling you, Nancy, when you look at the pictures, it is like, how in the world can you be disappointed? Look how far you've come in 4 weeks. Forget that dang scale. I'm telling you, so amazing to see that, just the lack of fluffiness that they have. I don't know how to say, I got to say it correctly, but I'm telling you, everybody's going to have a different experience. Now, for me, I was fully activated when I started. I was already eating clean. I was already exercising. I already got good rest. I was already hydrating. So I thought, how good can this be? And I've melted over 20 inches.
It's
It's
crazy.
crazy to me. Now, the first 2 weeks I lost some weight, and then for 7 weeks I didn't lose any weight. But not once did it ever occur to me to say, well, I'm a little discouraged. I'm really disappointed. I felt so dang good that that couldn't even enter my mind. So what would your advice be, Nancy? I know that we're all different, and they need to hear it from you, because I say it over and over again. Trust the process. Again, you've talked about this hormone and how it's affecting your body everywhere. What about patience with the process? I mean, the study was 12 weeks, right?
Hmm. Hmm. And probably one of the most distinguishing things that came from that study that I loved the most, because it was one of my greatest concerns with all the injectables.
Oh, we got Nancy froze a little bit again. She'll be back. She'll,
Oops, there I am. Am I back?
yep, you're back. So
So
you
what
said
happened?
with all the injectables, you were
I
really,
was concerned with losing muscle because
yeah.
I saw what was going on. And when our studies initially came back, I loved it. 100% no muscle loss.
Mhm.
Okay. That was huge for me. And I will contend, I really don't like people weighing themselves for at least 2 or 3 weeks. And the reasoning is, as your body is utilizing GLP-1 and it's starting to activate its series of steps for cellular repair and growth. Okay. And so your body is going to determine which areas you may have nerve issues that you don't even know are issues.
She just
In terms
lost it. There we go. Nancy, we're
of,
losing you again. Go ahead.
oh,
Go ahead.
I'm so sorry. I
Oh, no.
apologize. What I was going to say is the biggest thing about it is the fact that your body is going to choose where it needs utilizing of GLP-1 receptor activation first. Some of that may be nerves. Some of it may be restructuring. You don't know. And so I challenge people all the time, please make sure you're going to at least give this a good 12 weeks, because cellular transformation takes time. What those other things are doing, a lot of which is muscle loss. And you'll see weight loss with muscle loss because muscle weighs a lot. Okay. It's thick. But here's what I will tell you: the transformations you start seeing in your skin, in just, I mean, for me, I'm 70 years old, and I can tell you that there's places, and having had that sickness that I did when I did, there were times and places I lost a lot of muscle. And so I had a lot of crepiness and wrinkling in my skin. And I look at my arms now, they look like they did 15 years ago, which is incredible to me. What I'm seeing is just an overall transformation. And you need to understand, some people, their gut hasn't been working for so long. So they're going to have some bloating. They're going to have some gas. They're going to have some things that have to happen. Not everybody's going to experience that. Some will, some won't. Those people may not genetically have those issues going on. They may have been, I mean, one of the things I'll say, when they first came to the science board and also to your group, for us to take it, a good portion of those people are pretty fit and in pretty good shape. And I mean, when my girlfriends were talking to me, the first thing they said to me, oh, good gracious, why are you taking it? Well, I wanted to take it because I wanted to see what was going to happen in my body, what was going to happen. And here's what I will tell you: one of the biggest things I got excited about was the fact that, because diabetes is such a huge thing in my family, I'm always concerned about maintaining healthy blood sugar levels. Okay. Well, guess what? Guess what the FDA has allowed us to do in the last few weeks?
Of course,
I
it
don't know.
stopped. Said that. Nancy, can you share again what they allowed us to do? Because as soon as you said that, bloop, you went away.
I'm so sorry.
It's okay.
I think we have a little wizard up there being naughty. What it does is that we are allowed now to make the statement that we maintain healthy blood sugar levels. Well, isn't that the whole idea? That's the whole idea. For us to be able to put that in marketing and to be able to make that statement says it all. That is molecular chemistry balance, and why we see all the different things that we can be seeing from our mind is going to be connecting that gut brain connection properly again. We're seeing our body optimize what it can do with foods that we're giving it. Now, let me tell you two things that are really, really, really important. The number one thing that a lot of people fail to do that first week or two is to drink enough water. You've got to drink the water, because as your body is taking in the nutrients to make the GLP-1 pathway activate again, water components of it are necessary. Also, it's going to start producing some things as it's turning around that need to be removed from your body. And the water is going to help pull that back out again as well. And I will tell you that in many people, when they weren't drinking enough water early on, they weren't seeing as good of activation with this product as they can. So please, if you feel like you've been on the product and you're not moving as in the direction you'd like to yet, one of the biggest things I want to tell you is you need to make sure you're really upping your water, and you need to make sure that you're eating. You need to have the proper proteins and proper nutrients going into your body as well. And that's a part that I think people, they're so used to, okay, well, if I just stop eating, then I'm going to lose weight. And the whole focus is on weight. My whole focus is on balanced chemistry. And balanced chemistry arrives when you have that combination of taking in water, letting it do its thing, along with being able to have the building blocks to keep our muscle. And then we're taking the activation of this GLP-1 to make all the chemistry right so that the proper things are being removed from our body. And when that balanced chemistry happens, that's when we start seeing things and feeling things. And it's not going to and so they're shoving things to go faster. But there's a downside to that. What I like is my body chemistry being balanced and it operating the way it's supposed to, and you're going to see optimum results with that. And so just knowing, just knowing that utilizing this helps to maintain healthy blood sugar levels is such a huge component, not just in weight, but in overall body health and overall mental health. It's very important to know. So I hope that that was helpful.
Yeah, it is so helpful. And I will tell you, Nancy, there's a lot of questions coming in, and we're probably going to have to revisit those. But, I think that it's just really important. We got, had the question again, well, I can't tolerate the powder, so can I just take the pills? It's a two-part system, and it's never going to be sold separately because the two parts work together. And so for me, I've had a few people say, well, I just don't like the taste. Well, you know what? When something works well for me, I don't care if it tastes like, and I something horrible. I am going to get it in my body because I know how valuable health is. I've been in a place where I wasn't sure I was going to be around. You've been in a place. So taste really doesn't matter. Figure it out. You can mix that powder with anything. You can bake it, you can freeze it, you can do anything. So I would say where there's a will, there's a way. Now, I know that someone in the chat has mentioned that you kind of helped them along the way and maybe told them to go back to just one pill and 1 or 2 scoops or whatever. Again, if you're journaling, don't you think, Nancy, if people are really intent on making a change, if they're journaling and they feel super good one day, wouldn't you want to go back to that day and say, what was it that day that made me feel so good? Maybe I should do that again. I think that it's important until you get in tune with your body. I'm completely in tune with mine. Until you get that way with your body, I think that you should do that. And then again, as consultants, that's what we are. We are not medical doctors. We don't have, we cannot tell you those things. You need to consult with the doctor. But again, this is food-based. So, I'm not personally, I'm just going to be honest. I'm not going to ask my doctor because I don't ask him what I can eat for dinner either.
No, and they don't have that education. It's sad because they don't have that education. But here's what I will tell you. There are times and places with certain people, they may need to cut back and go a little slow. Here's the reason why you need to take both components though. The capsules do one thing in terms of taking care of and putting in the microbiome that we need, that's part of the GLP-1 production. Okay. The powder is the foods that continue to feed the microbiome the things it needs so it keeps making what it's doing. They are two parts. Now that may mean maybe you need to do one scoop in the morning and then do another couple, after lunch, and then another early evening. I really don't care how you get the powder in, because it's going to be best on what works best with your system. But they are designed to be taken so that, and the capsules need to be taken first thing in the morning on an empty stomach. Okay. Nothing else. All right. It needs to be taken with water and nothing else so that it can optimize and get through the stomach acid and get down to where it needs to get to. All right. But that powder can be taken anytime except within a half an hour of those capsules. Okay. And so to me, put it, put one scoop in your coffee, put two in with your daily wellness later in the day, take another one with your Axio. It just, however you can get that in there. But the fibrous components of what's in that powder is very unique. It's very unique to the GLP-1 production and utilization of that GLP-1 hormone. Okay. Not only making it, but utilizing it. And so that's why it's so important that they're used together.
Yeah. And Nancy, I tried, because I just did 4 scoops in the morning, and I mix it with my daily wellness and my prebiotic every day. I love what you say about taking that on an empty stomach. I do that with my ProBio. I've done that forever. I take that on an empty stomach, let it get where it needs to be, and then I feed it with the prebiotic, and I still use it. I still, all of that fiber doesn't do anything bad for me. I have an amazing digestive tract, and I don't want it to be messed up. But I think finding what works for you, and then pay attention to the foods that you're eating. I will tell you, I had a conversation with a woman today about, she's like, I'm so gassy, I can't even stand to be around myself. I said, are you eating processed sugar? Because that's what makes me gassy. And you know what? Some forms of protein, not regular, not natural protein like fish and chicken and turkey don't give me. But when I try to do a protein drink that's mixed with, that's not natural, I get gassy. So pay attention to those types of things. Now, that may not be the same for you as it is for me. Fresh broccoli, I cannot do. I'm miserable. So I pay attention to that and I decide what works for me. And I think that that's just something we can't be lazy. If we really want to change, we've got to pay attention to those things. Do what makes you feel good, right?
Mm-hmm. I did notice someone had a question that said, what if you're hungry still in the system? Well, first and foremost, I don't know how long you've been on it, but it takes time for that equilibrium to get balanced. Okay. And to be honest, it's not about not being hungry. It's about being satiated when you've eaten. Okay. It's about having smaller amounts. It's about not finishing your plate if you really don't have to. It's about a feeling of satiation. The thing, probably one of the biggest things that I noticed for myself was my thought processes on what I wanted to eat. I used to be the worst, and it comes naturally, I'm sure, with all the diabetes in my family. My body always craved carbohydrates, huge cravings for that. And now when I look at it, I don't even really want it. I find myself wanting good foods. That's the mind connection. It helps your mind and your digestive tract be in line with what you really need. And I think that that's one of the things we don't talk enough about, but that's a very important part of what this is doing. So if you're hungry, it's okay. I don't have a problem with you being hungry. Have a little bit of something. You need to be eating. What you don't need to be doing is eating large amounts all the time. But go ahead and have something, and maybe that's the time. If you're taking it, maybe you're one of the people that should have one scoop in the morning and have another couple in the afternoon and another one later on, to see if that doesn't help change your thought processes on when you want to eat and what you want to eat. Okay.
Yeah, that's really great information, Nancy, and thank you so much. I'm going to ask you one more question because I think it's important that this is part of this, because we've had a few postmenopausal women who have started their cycle again. And so again, we don't know what that GLP-1 hormone is going to do, but we don't know how it's going to affect us. And for me, I know that's not going to happen because of everything that I've been through. But can you address why that might be happening and why we shouldn't be angry about that?
Well, first and foremost, that is a natural function. It's a natural function. It's over time, as our hormones diminish, that it goes away. Okay. So when we're taking GLP-1 activation and it's activating, that's a hormone it's activating that has implications in lots of places, including our reproductive organs. Okay. It's affecting our head. It's affecting our gut cells. It's affecting our muscles. And so I've always been curious with people as they've gotten healthier and that returns, for them to understand that is a natural function. It may not be the one you're looking for. It may be that you've enjoyed it not being there, but it truly is a natural function and a healthy function for our bodies. And so that's the thing that you have to keep in mind. This is about optimizing cellular function. And that's what I love so much about it, because there's so many different things that we're seeing coming from it.
And one more thing, because a lot of people have asked this, you know that we are in a situation now where people aren't able to get the product for a little while, and it's just temporary. It's going to be here forever. At one point, we're all going to be blessed. But again, it's more important that we get started, because we're not going to go back to square one now that we've started. We might lean off just a little, lose a little bit, but we have some people who still have some of the powder, but not the pills. If it were me, I'd be still taking the powder. Why not, Nancy? And so can you address that? Because we're going to have it back. It's coming back. And you need to make sure that you get it. And pretty soon we're not even going to have these conversations. But in the meantime, Nancy, we have the other activators that are so good that we should be making sure our body's activated in that way. But what would you recommend? Go ahead and take that powder if you have.
Well, I would definitely recommend that they continue to take it, because once our product line gets all back up, hopefully here in a few more weeks, we're going to have it back. You're not starting again at ground zero, right? Even if you've run out of everything, your body's optimization has built up. It's going to keep building, and it has a long way to go yet, based on what's been going on with you. Some may be less than others. But the point of it is, yes, remember when I was talking about the capsules have one role and the powder has another. That powder contains fibers that are going to continue to feed those good probiotics and things that you've put back into your system to optimize how it's functioning. As we're putting those things into us is one thing. They're supposed to already be present. So we're going to continue to optimize taking care of that microbiome. The more we balance that microbiome, the better it's going to operate. All right. So yes, please do continue to take what you have. And if you're out completely, don't worry, because it's coming, and you're not going to be starting at ground zero. You've optimized your body, and right now it's just kind of percolating at that phase, and then you're going to start building from there. All right. So I hope that's helpful and encouraging, because I know that it's hard to wait. I know that it's been tough for us to not have it. I just, be careful what you wish for. My goodness, we were just so successful in everything we did. And I will tell you, please encourage others to put their orders in, because they will be filled based on what orders are already there. All right. In the time frame that it takes. for what's already there. So it's really important that they do go ahead and place the order.
Well, as I said, we're not going to have these conversations pretty soon, but it's so amazing, Nancy. Thank you so much for sharing your insight. I know this chat.
There is one thing I do want to bring up,
Sure.
because there's a lot of people that have been getting a lot of the synthetics that we all know about, right? There's two things that are really important for you all to know and understand. The government, when there's a company that has a product that's patented and comes out, and they consider it a very necessary product, if that product is unable to make its supply, they will allow compounding pharmacies to make generic versions of it, which is what's been happening, okay? All these different compounding pharmacies and lots of places have been throwing up in their 2 cents worth and doing their products. I'm not always a big fan of it because they don't have the science behind it and you don't really know what you're getting, I'll be honest. But part B of that is, guess what? Pfizer and Lilly and those companies, they've ramped it up and they now are in full production. And as of probably the first of the year, they will push and no one will be able to be making those compounded products anymore. So you're going to have people going back to only those trade name patented products that are very expensive. We want to make sure that we're allowing people to know that there's other options out there. If they've been on those products, feel comfortable that they can take this with that. The first thing is, if they are taking the other, it will have an impact that they should be able to start weaning themselves off the other, which will really greatly enhance them in terms of not having the side effects that they're going to ensue. So don't be afraid that if people are on them, to encourage them. The secondary thing is that when you take a look, what you get for the money that you pay with this, there's just no comparison. There just isn't. Think of this. Does it make sense for you to inject insulin from outside or to make your own? Of course it makes sense that you're going to make your own. The same with GLP-1. As much as you can activate your own body to do what it's doing, the better off you're going to be. And you know what? There's times and places for those. But what I really want to end with is the fact that please don't be afraid to share this with others, even though we're still in that phase of being out of it for the moment. Our NRF2 activation, there's nothing like it. And the last thing I want to bring up is the collagen NRF2 study that we have. There is no medication, no nutrients, nothing on the planet ever proving to do what the study we just completed did. It literally resets your whole own immune system. Everyone knows what autoimmune diseases are. Those are a malfunction of the immune system being poked constantly. It never gets to reset and become normal. What our collagen and NRF2 do is balance that out again and gives it a pause. It gives it a rest. It resets that immune system and is very, very much beneficial along with this GLP-1. And I just wanted to be able to bring that into terms of what we've got going on right now while we're waiting for that to come.
Well, Nancy, we can end this. I think that just by looking at the numbers, nobody's leaving, but we do need to be mindful of people's time. It is Thanksgiving week and we want to make sure that people have this, but I'm going into Thanksgiving week even more confident and happy now to know what we have our hands on. So thank you so much, Nancy. And if you are on this and you are interested, please get back with the person who brought you to this webinar, have a conversation with them and find what's best for you. And if you, just listening to Nancy, I know what's best for me. I know the decisions that I need to make for myself. I know the investment that I need to put into myself. And so Nancy, thank you for validating everything that I've believed to be. We thank you so much for joining us tonight. We hope you have a great week with your family. And also for those of you on, have a happy Thanksgiving. Make sure that you continue on this. Please, let's all make a pact here that we are going to be celebrating a year from now how amazing we feel. So with that, Nancy, Thank you so much. And we will be talking to you soon. Our next Doc Talk will be, I know, the second week in November with Dr. Brett Brimhall and Kim Kobinski.
Thank you so much.